You mind if I give you an existential crisis for a second? Okay, so here's you. Well, not actually you, that's me. Just pretend that's you, or at least who you consider to be you. You're here in this moment watching this video in a town or city with man-made boundaries, in a state or country also man-made, on a planet called Earth in outer space, in the Milky Way galaxy, in a universe that, as far as we know, is infinite. You are completely insignificant, but at the same time, you're the center of the world, at least from your perspective. We don't know what we're doing here or why we even exist at all, and there's no other signs of life out there that we know of to at least give us some sort of confirmation that there's even a little bit of order to the chaos that's unraveling within this realm of consciousness. And I say consciousness because at the end of the day, this entire infinitely expanding universe gets called into being through your five senses. The universe is a living, breathing amalgamation of that thing operating within your skull. And every other living species has an identical or similar version of that thing, so we can both agree that when we sit in a room together and look at a table, that thing is indeed a table. Yup, that's a table. We don't know when we're gonna die, and we don't know if there's anything after death. And we may never know. Life is an extremely absurd thing. Over the past few thousands of years, many people have reported to have otherworldly experiences where they've either felt or seen something that proves the existence of what many of us call God. And for those people, the belief in a higher power is enough to justify their meaning for being here and gives them hope for their future, as well as lets them handle the present no matter how large their struggle may seem right now. Even I too believe in what I wouldn't call a singular God, but some sort of universal intelligence that seems to guide the chaos of things, even though I can't objectively prove it. Is this false hope? Is this simply just a coping mechanism to attach to so we no longer have to go throughout each day asking ourselves, why do anything at all? Perhaps, but I don't believe anybody should be judged for believing in what they choose to believe. It's justifiable given the human condition and, maybe there is a God. But what I want to deeply explore today is the absurd life. The life that cannot give a solid argument for there being any sort of meaning to this mess we all find ourselves intertwined in. And I want to share with you the ways in which I've handled this potential fact and reality. I had first heard the meaninglessness and disorderliness of the universe described as the absurd in the book The Myth of Sisyphus by philosopher 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪 Camus. In the book, Camus aims to tackle one question: is suicide the answer to life's inherent void of meaning? And like him, I agree the answer to that is without a doubt no. Instead, Camus and myself offer a different solution, although my ways of achieving that solution slightly differ from his. And to sum it up in one sentence, instead of letting reality strangle you, you actively revolt against it, even if it is all for nothing. You become a happy Sisyphus. The story in Greek mythology goes like this. Sisyphus was the king of Corinth and helped his city become a commercial hub and invested in navigation. But even so, he was very sly and deceitful. In numerous occasions, he violated the xenia, the concept of hospitality and generosity shown to travelers and guests, by killing them so he could prove that he was a ruthless king. These violations made him fall in the eyes of Zeus, who was in charge of promoting the xenia. Zeus, the father of gods, asked Hades, the personification of death, to take him and chain him in the underworld. But, being the sly man that Sisyphus was, Sisyphus swiftly managed to chain Hades instead. With death now in change, no mortal could die and go to the underworld. After a while, the situation aggravated, and the god of war Ares, unhappy that his wars were no longer interesting as no one died, released Hades. He then trapped Sisyphus and gave him to Hades too. Zeus, fed up with Sisyphus's tricks, punished him to eternally push a boulder uphill. However, as soon as he would reach the top of the hill, the boulder would roll off and Sisyphus had to push it back again, all for eternity. So why is this story so important to what we're talking about? Well, this act of pushing a boulder up a hill, only to have it roll off to the bottom and have to push it back again, is the condition in which the person who has no meaning for life finds themselves in. To tirelessly work towards a better future that may never come, or when achieved, lacks any sort of purpose in the end, since all of the elements that made up the success will eventually wither away into nothingness. And if that is what you truly believe to be so. If this is the condition that you find yourself in, you just have to decide to voluntarily accept the defeat. Because in that meaningless, hopeless struggle is where you can paradoxically find meaning. In more simpler terms, one says, yeah, none of this really makes sense nor has any sort of meaning, and suffering is inevitable, but f*** you anyway. Before I continue elaborating on what I mean and how I do this, let me tell you about something that helps to enhance the meaning of my life, which is motion array. Creating things in any form is where I derive a lot of my "fuck you anyways" energy from, and I believe it's one of the best ways to quell those negative existential thoughts. And motion array helps you do just that. You may be an aspiring video or content creator, or an existing one, and you want to use the same transitions, titles, and text effects that I use within my videos, including this one. Motion array covers all your bases. They have video templates, stock footage, photos, music and sound effects, all available at a low price per month. You sign up for a month or a year and you get access to everything they offer. There's no additional fees and you can use their assets whenever, wherever. I've personally been using their Premiere Pro and After Effects templates to make my videos look at an even more professional quality. And when I make these highly edited YouTube videos, the tediousness of that entire process is enough already. I need something that will make the editing process quicker, but not at the cost of the quality. It is the best and quickest way to make your content look amazing, and you will get a free trial as well, which will give you access to a limited amount of their features. If you've been hesitant to start YouTube or create videos because you feel like you don't have the proper skills yet, then get started right now by signing up for Motion Array using the link in my description. And thank you to Motion Array for sponsoring this video. So when I first started to dabble in existentialism and I started to consider the arguments made by Camus and people similar to him, it almost led me to completely self-destruct. I asked myself, how could one ever willingly accept and revolt against this absurdity that afflicts so much pain on my mentality towards life? And if I do choose to, how the hell do I go about it? I searched for answers to these questions for the better half of an entire year back in 2018. Through that period of time, I lost interest in achieving goals, my love life, and developed an unwavering sense of indifference towards most things. I kept pushing the boulder up the hill, and just when I thought that I might reach the top and find something, it fell back to the bottom. Until one day, it just clicked. I knew this dance I'd have with myself and this boulder would last forever. But what I did was I developed a passion for deep involvement in it. To get so deeply involved in all the aspects of life that I rarely, if ever, have time to even contemplate if there is meaning to all of this, and using the free will that I believe I still have, create that meaning in my life, no matter how insignificant and hopeless it may seem. This was my revolt. I started to pay attention to the things I was consuming and telling myself on a daily basis that made the boulder seem heavier and less bearable than it actually was. And I slowly started to remove them or limit them from entering my daily lifestyle. Watching the news, being around toxic people who only start drama and aren't interested in battling suffering and being disciplined to grow, eating processed foods, identifying with my negative thoughts, all of these needed to be silenced and no longer be an integral part of my existence anymore. And I added the things that made living in this body in which I encapsulate easier to handle. Working out, positive thinking, believing in myself even if it was hopeless, eating whole foods, sleeping 8 hours a night, and creating the meaningless meaning. My time here is brief, but there is still some good to be done with my meaningless time here. I can positively impact people through my work, I can develop relationships that spice up the flavor of life, and I can get myself in spontaneous situations and really take this life stuff pretty seriously, but never too seriously. That way, I don't even have to think about, what's this all for anyway? I'll be too busy really being in the thick of it. And despite never reaching the top of the hill, I can grow on the never-ending hill. Growth is possible for everybody. That is an objective fact. And even though it feels like what's the point anyway if I'm gonna die and all my progress will be squashed in the end, you just rebel against it. You have the power to make that decision. Every time you push that boulder up the hill, you go through an immense amount of pain and suffering, and you never actually reach the top. It is, indeed, for no ultimate goal or finish line. But when that boulder inevitably falls to the bottom again, the person that pushes it back up again is a little bit more well-equipped to do so. The meaninglessness starts to become more and more tolerable. So go through painful shit, experience happiness, sadness, anger, fall in love with a craft, fall in love with nothing, go outside into nature, talk to a stranger, go to a concert, stay inside and watch movies for 12 hours straight. Give in to the absurdity and let it shape and mold you into someone who can endure even life's most cruel and toughest challenges. And when you finally reach the top of the mountain for the last time, you'll be too busy being the absurd that you won't even have time to notice that the boulder stopped moving. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to leave the link to the book that I mentioned, The Myth of Sisyphus, in the description if you are interested in reading it. I highly recommend. And thank you to all my patrons on Patreon who are helping to support my channel. If you don't know what Patreon is, it's a platform separate from YouTube where I'm putting out exclusive content, and you can talk to me one-on-one over the phone on there. Link is in the description for that as well. I have plenty of personal development videos on here. If you want to check out the playlist and watch all those videos, it will help you. I hope it does at least. And that is it. I'm leaving. Goodbye.